Hey guys, it's Steph, and today I want to talk about one of the most commonly seen or practiced yoga poses, and that is downward facing dog. So we see this pose pop up all the time, over and over again, in almost any style of yoga that we're doing. But a lot of times we don't take the time to actually break it down and figure out what we're supposed to be doing, where we're supposed to be feeling it, and where we should actually be in this pose in relation to our own body. So downward facing dog. It's one of those poses, usually just here, down dog, downward facing dog, but that's usually the only cue that we really give. And if someone's a beginner or a newbie, or maybe you've been practicing yoga for a while and you're still not sure if you're doing this pose right, or maybe it hurts, or just figuring it out with your own body, how can we make this more accessible and just knowledgeable of where we need to be in this pose? So the first thing to focus on always is foundation of the pose. So a lot of times I'll hear people say it hurts their wrists. And that could be just because either the hands are together, or maybe the fingers are spread, but they're flat. They're not activated hands. So by activated hands, I mean engaging the fingers, pressing down through the finger pads to the pinky and the outskirts of the thumb. So actually taking the pressure off the wrists. So yes, this pose can be very compressive for the wrist, especially if your wrist can't naturally go at a 90 or 45-degree angle. So this can be a lot for the wrist. You might need to take a wedge under the wrist or do a little roll up of, let's say, your mat. That might be a little bit better for the wrist if you need that. Otherwise, just by teaching you to engage through the hands and the fingers, you might feel a release of that compression already. So bringing the finger pads onto the mat, we call this gecko asana. So your little gecko here. And then we're gonna press into the knuckles of the forefingers. So pressing into the knuckles, and then we're gonna take the weight to the pinky side and the outskirts of the palm and kind of off the wrist. So what that ends up looking like is this. So it's almost like I'm creating cups with my hands, okay? And that's totally different than being flat fingered or here. And why? Is because I'm actually creating energy and awareness in my hands, and I'm taking the pressure off my joints. So if we can create this movement here, we actually have a lot more stability. So I can move around here and still grip with my hands. If I'm here, there is no sense of kind of grip. No matter which way I move, my fingers, my hands are going to move with me. So gripping the mat is going to be the first thing you want to focus on. The next thing is, how do we get there? My biggest rule of thumb is starting in a tabletop position is usually going to be your best bet for finding a position that's about where you want to be based on your body. Now, a lot of times we hear hands under shoulders. Now, if you have wider shoulders, that's going to end up being like this when you're in your down dog. So you might actually need to take your hands a little bit wider. So play around where if it feels more comfortable. So you might have to take your hands a little bit wider than just hands under the shoulders. And I found that to be a little bit true for myself as well. So taking the hands a little bit wider, okay, so we did that. Knees somewhere under the hips. And then we're going to tuck the toes back. Maybe lean the hips back to start. Flex the feet. Pressing back into the toes, maybe you do a little rocking here to rinse out the toes to start. Soften the elbows, so we're coming from the ground. Inhale, prepare, and as you exhale, start to lift the knees and keep the knees bent here. Now maybe I do a few waves here with the spine. And essentially what I want to focus on is keeping the knees bent. So a lot of times if we're told to press our heels down, which is actually not good for the backs of our knees. So we want to soften the knees, no matter if we can touch them down or not. When we press back through the legs, if you're feeling it in the back of the knees, you're not actually stretching your muscles, you're stretching your ligaments, which we don't want to do. So start to feel the activation in the back of the muscles, which would be back of the quads, the hamstrings, and the calves. So we can do that by pedaling out the feet maybe. We can do that a little bit, maybe rotating the hips a little bit. But notice also that my head is in alignment with the rest of my spine. So I'm not here with head down, and I'm not looking out either. So I have a neutral neck from my tailbone to the crown of my head. As far as shoulders go, I want to think about kind of widening the shoulder blades, and also kind of plugging the shoulders in a little bit so I'm not out here. So I don't want to think about dumping into my pose. So a lot of times this is seen as more advanced, and yes, my shoulders can do this because I'm hypermobile on both my shoulders. Should I do this? No. So I can come out of this, and then my shoulders are a little bit more neutral here in front. So when I come up, this is about where I'm at. Now if you come up from that, and you were here, just try it out, lower your knees, look at where my arms are. This isn't where we want to be at all, ever, in anything in everyday life, really. So, do that little check. Notice where your arms are in down dog, lower your knees, and then see if you can keep it where it is. And just do a little check out. Are you way up here? Are your arms behind your ears or your shoulders? Can you bring them more forward? Can you widen the back and press through the arms? For me, because I have double jointed elbows, I'm hypermobile in almost every joint, I don't want to straighten my arms because that actually locks my elbows out. So I'm actually going to keep a soft bend in the elbows here as well, and you might have to too. So just playing around with it here. Maybe you pedal out the feet, maybe, like I said, you do some waves here, maybe you just do some crouching down dogs, lowering and lifting. That'll really get the quads fired up and soften through the elbows and the hands. So if down dog is still uncomfortable, feel free to ask questions, ask me, ask any of our other instructors. We can work with some props if we need to, and just get you to feel the right down dog for you. So down dog is different for everyone. A lot of times I'll see down dogs that are too wide or even a little too narrow. So it's just finding what's just right for your body. What can you hold and breathe in that feels best, feels healthy for your joints, healthy for your muscles. So check it out. If you have any questions about down dog, feel free to ask.